Welcome to Audible Insights, brought to you by the Insights Association and hosted by David Paul, founder of Dialsmith and Lillian Labs.
In this episode of the Audible Insights podcast, we're coming to you live from the Insights Association's next conference, where I'm talking with CEO of VoxPopMe, Dave Carruthers. Dave and I talk about the power of using video for open ends in surveys, and also we explore what else is going on in tech in the market research industry. Check it out. Hey Dave, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks to be here.
So hey, for people who don't know you, tell us about what VoxPopMe is all about.
Yeah, so VoxPopMe started in 2013, and what we saw was this huge trend of video becoming kind of this ubiquitous medium. You know, people were creating and consuming more video content than ever, and we felt at a time where brands needed to really improve their customer centricity and closeness, VoxPopMe could offer a solution that allowed brands to get closer to consumers, collect feedback via video. So we built an application that allowed them to reach out, connect with consumers, capture video, but on the back end, really taking the pain out of, no one wants to sit down and watch 250 consumer videos. So we automated that whole analytics piece, transcriptions, theme coding, time coding, sentiment, and really made video something that could be agile and easily deployed.
Yeah, so the videos, it takes the place of or augments written open ends in surveys for the most part, right?
Yeah, the reason we kind of bought into the medium of video was I think there's benefits on both ends. For the consumer participating in the survey, you know, so many times they come across an open end text box in a survey, they just write a couple of words. People aren't always as good at articulating themselves in a written format, but everyone can talk and share their emotions and their feelings. So it offered a kind of frictionless way to record their responses and share their thoughts. But then on the back end for the brand, one of the big challenges insights professionals have is, how do I get stakeholders' attention? How do I get people to lean forward and sit up and listen when I'm presenting these key insights? And the fact is that, you know, data and analytics can only go so far. That dehumanized data doesn't really drive kind of the engagement that you want. And when you can get the consumer talking in their own words, bringing that to life, executives kind of buy into that. So, you know, there's more memorability. It's a deeper and richer response. And we believe it's the kind of preeminent medium for feedback.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you about that, the difference in the richness of response. I certainly know from written open ends and surveys, like you said, you often get complete garbage. You either get people just typing in something to get past it, or they're not very articulate, they put in a couple of words. I imagine when that video camera turns on, they feel they have some obligation before moving on, but I'm also just interested in that general richness of getting the facial expressions and the intonation, and what are brands seeing as a real tangible difference between those video recordings versus the more conventional historical way.
Yeah, so as you say, there's no doubt that you know, that ability, you know, the typical video response we see is probably about 45 seconds, which, you know, compared to the 3 to 5 word open end or the jumbled, I'm just going to tap the keyboard, you know, is such a richer response already. But why brands are really kind of buying into this is, that tone of voice, that facial expression, the ability to kind of truly connect. When you see the whites of a consumer's eyes and see them talking about it, it's just the most powerful way to deliver that message. So I also think brands are kind of trying to move away from, hey, here's another 65-page PowerPoint presentation that no one looks at. It's how can I, you know, think about the way we're all digesting, whether it's news content, social content. Everyone loves the kind of 90-second video extra, or you know, rich media like, you know, podcasts and things like that. The way we want to consume this data is changing, and video and audio are two trends that we just have to kind of embrace and change the way we do things.
Yeah. So we're at the next conference by the Insights Association in Chicago. I see you at all the major industry events, so you're really close to the industry. You've got a pulse of what's going on. What are you seeing as the trends that you're most focused on that are either emerging right now in the last year or two, or that you're seeing coming down the pike that haven't even really materialized yet?
Yeah, so I mean, I think, you know, these conferences are a great source of kind of inspiration and innovation, and a great way to kind of find out what's next. You know, for me, I think there's a few trends that kind of really stand out when you come to these conferences. I think the first being, there's no doubt about it, on the brand side, those brand consumer insights departments are being asked to do a lot more with a lot less. I think we were talking with a couple of the large CPG brands, 30-40% headcount reduction whilst kind of being given more and more work. So that rise of the ability to do more DIY studies, the technology around automation has been huge, and I think what we're trying to figure out is which is the bits where technology can replace kind of human capital, and where can the researcher or the insights manager add the most value. This is what I think we're seeing, is that combination of there's some really innovative technology companies out there, and where that's working best is when they're being combined with like true insights leaders who understand the space, the category, and those companies are working together to develop solutions. I think too often the tech guys can come in with, we can solve all your problems, and the reality is that no one knows that brand, that category better than that company. So context is important. Automation can maybe get you 95% of the way or 90% of the way, but it's understanding how that automation plays off with that kind of there's the things that machine learning or AI can't do yet.
What are you seeing as either some misconceptions in the industry right now that you would like to be part of the conversation around clearing up, or what do you feel is just not being talked about and addressed enough right now that really needs to have more of a spotlight shined on it?
Yeah, I think the obvious one here is probably AI. I think if you got 50 brand researchers or agency researchers in a room and ask them to define what AI is and what are the capabilities today, and I think what happens with a lot of this technology is, in the short term, what happens is its ability is kind of overhyped. It can do this and it can do this. And then you end up with this, after a couple of years, you end up in this kind of trough of disillusionment, as they call it, where, it hasn't lived up to expectation. But the reality is then 10 years on from that, it's far exceeded what anyone could ever imagine. And I think we're kind of in that kind of everyone's, AI seems to be this AI machine learning. People use them as interchangeable terms when they're not really the same thing at all. So I think more that can be done to what is possible now, what can be done in the future, and how can it and apply it, because at the moment it feels like very much a tick box exercise. 3 years ago it was like, we need a big data strategy. Now it's we need an AI strategy. But like all of this needs to come back to what is the business problem we're trying to solve? And, to that point about big data, I just presented with Michelle Gansel at Mars Wrigley today at this conference around, they'd almost over-indexed towards big data, and then they're having people who have not, talked to a consumer, interact with a consumer in a long time. And, companies used to do lots of immersion and customer immersion. It's getting more and more difficult to get people to go out of the office and do these types of things. So how can you bring that customer voice back in? Yeah.
And what's your background before VoxPopMe? Are you a technologist by trade, or?
Yeah, so prior to starting VoxPopMe, it was very much on the technology side. So started off as a developer, built some technology, then started to help people with ideas, kind of take those to market, help them raise funding. So really did stumble into the market research industry. And I think, it was such an exciting space because it had the ability to be, disrupted. And I think, one of the reasons that we've managed to kind of build a successful business in this space is we didn't come in thinking we knew all the answers. We knew we had some good technology and we could apply it to this category, but we wanted to work with like large leading brands and understand, okay, we think we're solving this problem, help us validate it and things like that. I think that's important.
Yeah, well, I love hearing origin stories. What came first? Did you already have a platform that you were working on for VoxPopMe and then you applied it to research, or did you see a problem in the research space that you knew you could solve and you set out to solve it?
Yeah, I think we saw the macro trend of video, just Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, stories, FaceTime, Periscope. All these video apps were appearing, and I think when we launched the company, all of the cameras had started to now have cameras front-facing and back-facing and things like that. So it seemed an obvious connection, but what we knew was that in order for brands to win, they had to truly understand the customer. And the reality was, we weren't a big fan of surveys, and who's giving up their Friday night to go and sit in a focus group for $60 and a pizza. There had to be a way to use technology to enable kind of a faster, more agile approach to this. So we built this mobile app and a basic platform, and then what we found from there was clients were saying, okay, the app's great, but how can I embed this into my vision critical community? How can I put this into a Qualtrics survey? So then we really expanded out and became kind of this solution that would power that video open-ended question regardless of whatever platform you were using.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, watching your growth has been fantastic. Great success story so far in the market research community. I'm sure it'll keep going further than that, so congratulations. How can people learn more about VoxPopMe?
Yeah, if you'd like to learn more about VoxPopMe, visit the website www.voxpopme.com or connect with me on LinkedIn, Dave Carruthers. I'd love to tell you more about what we're doing and learn more about your business.
Awesome, Dave. Well, hey, thanks so much for joining us. Great talking with you.
Thanks, David. It's been great to be part of this.
Thanks so much for listening. You can find all our episodes by searching Audible Insights on iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play, and by visiting insightsassociation.org/audible. Thanks again, and we'll catch you next time.